I'm Travis Ederer with Montecito Fire Department. I'm the Division Chief of Operations. So evacuation preparedness, I know Maeve touched on how to be prepared and what things to do to get prepared. And generally, I'm going to talk about three main things. I'm going to talk to you about our evacuation zones and our zone map. I'm going to talk about how to get out and how to plan and be aware of your evacuation routes. I'm also going to briefly touch on Ready, Set, Go, which is kind of a three-step process of how to be prepared for evacuation. Let's look at the map. For 2023, our evacuation zones were 1 through 15. And we've actually added 8 zones in 2024. So a little history on our evacuation planning. Most of these zones have existed my whole career here, so 25 years. And in 2022, we contracted with an outside agency to actually study the evacuation flow from those zones in different scenarios. Typically a wind-driven or a topography-driven or driven by the hillside fire environment. Sure enough, we had good evacuation zones that were well-founded. After looking at it a little bit more, we realized that we could separate the upper zones. So in years past, these upper zones actually came all the way down to Highway 192. The problem with that is that if we had a hillside fire way up here in, say, Montecito Zone 3, we would actually evacuate all the way down to Highway 192, and we realized that this lower section between Highway 192 and East Mountain Drive or Mountain Drive probably didn't need to be in an evacuation order in that scenario. So we reconveyed the study in 2023 and split those zones off above Mountain Drive. So we now have zones 1 through 7 above Mountain Drive in Montecito, and that section between Mountain Drive and East Valley or Highway 192 at Sycamore Canyon, those are now their own sections. So in that topography-driven, that hillside-driven fire that's headed uphill with minimal or low chance of coming downhill, we wouldn't necessarily evacuate these sections. So it reduces the flow of traffic and spreads it out further, making the flow of traffic out of the district actually faster. The message here is that it's a good idea to know your zone. And along with this map and this video and all this information, our website and readysbc.org will have this map available. You can put your address in and see exactly which zone you fall in. Functionally, you're going to get the notification exactly the same. We're going to evacuate you just like we would have before, but you may not get in an evacuation order as often as you would have in years past for a fire up on the hillside if you're above 192. There's also more change coming, potentially in 2024, but definitely by fire season 2025, where there's some technology that'll be coming into the Santa Barbara County operational area that allows us to even be more mindful and more accurate in our evacuation process. The zones will likely stay the same, but we may find ourselves in a scenario where we actually split an existing zone to evacuate. So we might only take part of one zone and evacuate it and put the rest in an evacuation warning. As a reminder, the two major things you need to know about when somebody says evacuation are the 2 stages. So there's a warning, which means be prepared. So if you talk about ready, set, go, you're kind of in that set phase. And then there's an order, and that's basically it's time to get out. And the different methods of getting notification will be touched upon by Jackie Ruiz later on. And one thing that not everybody is aware of, but in 2023, California allowed the use of the high-low siren. So if you're familiar with a lot of people consider the European siren, where it's a high-low sound, that for a long time wasn't used in California, but now that's specifically allowed for evacuation. So if you hear that and there's a police or a law enforcement vehicle or a fire vehicle driving down your road, putting out that high-low siren, that's actually an evacuation notice for you. Now, let's talk about how to be prepared and talk about the ready phase of ready, set, go. So ready is being aware of your surroundings, being aware of the weather, being aware of your evacuation routes. It's also a good time to just generally know what your family's up to, how to get a hold of them, where your meeting places are, the items in your go bag, your equipment, everything you want to take. Specifically in these next handful of years, Highway 101 is very fluid. What lanes will be open, how much access there's going to be. For example, in 2025, if you want to go southbound, there will be no on-ramp southbound at Olive Mill or at Pozolipo or San Ysidro. So you'll have to go all the way to Sheffield to get on southbound or up to Milpas. Those are the things that we talk about in that ready and even the set phases. Be aware of the current situation with your evacuation route. Most of the time, Highway 192 doesn't have any major issues going on, but if everybody's using Highway 192, it's going to be very crowded. So one way to look at that information, especially related to Highway 101, is sbroads.com. You can go there, and that's updated regularly with the current status of the Highway 101 corridor construction process. Now let's talk about Ready, Set, Go more generally. Again, we talked about ready being that general awareness. You know what the weather's going to do this week. It's going to be hot, it's going to be dry, it's going to be windy, maybe it's going to be foggy. So then you feel like you'd have to be a little less aware, but just know that it might be foggy down here in Montecito, but it's sunny and hot up halfway up the mountain, and that could lead to a fire that would still come down into the community. You know where your family is, you have your medications all figured out and what needs to go with you, and you have your important documents, photographs, whatever it may be that you've decided you want to take with you, and you have them ready to go in a go bag or ready to put into a go bag to get out soon. And then the set phase is now that monitoring the weather is a little more specific. That's when you want to have that go bag ready to go. You want to know where your pets are so you can load them up in the car. Your car's full of fuel. You maybe even put your go bag in the car. And then lastly, the go phase, which is just what it sounds like. It's time to go. And if we've made an evacuation order and it's time to leave the area, remember that whenever you're in evacuation warning, or really anytime you feel uncomfortable, you have the ability to leave. And it's helpful for everybody, if you're uncomfortable or you have any inkling that you might need to go, that you go ahead and leave before the evacuation order. The reason being is that our roads are pretty small in Montecito, and the Highway 101 traffic is pretty significant, especially in the afternoons. So when the wildfire risk is at the greatest for us, the afternoons, the way to get out of here is actually the slowest time of day. So if you leave earlier, it spreads out the load on the road system where everybody's evacuating. So the people in an order are obviously leaving. The people in a warning, if they kind of trickle out while they're in a warning, when they get changed to an order, there's less high impact time on the roadways and people can get out safely.